I mean, this was a huge moment in the trial because he's one of the biggest celebrities.
For Kid Cudi in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial.
Kid Cudi just dropped the bomb of the decade. His car was allegedly set on fire because of Diddy, and the reason he claims? Cassie. But here's where it gets even wilder. Diddy's courtroom reaction left everyone stunned and scrambling. What really went down, and how is this set to change everything we think we know about these stars?
All eyes were on him, and Combs was looking directly at him as he entered the courtroom. I mean, I think that all of these people that have testified so far, it's probably their first time testifying in a federal trial. So Kid Cudi seemed at ease, but also, I think, stressed to be there.
When Kid Cudi got up to the stand, he talked a little bit about the history between him and Cassie's relationship. Kind of break down what he said about that.
Kid Cudi said that he met Cassie in 2008, and then they eventually made some music together, that it was actually Combs who asked him to collaborate with Cassie, and that at first they were friends, but then their relationship turned romantic. But during this time, he had no idea during the year that he was dating Cassie in 2011 that she was also dating Diddy. At one point, Brian Steele, who cross-examined Kid Cudi, said, "So she was playing both you and Diddy?" And he said yes.
He was asked, what was your reaction to your car being torched? And he just kind of looked, he paused, and then he said, what the? And then you know what he said after that. And then at one point, even prior to that, they asked him if his car, if his Porsche could be repaired, and he started yawning. So obviously a little too early here this morning in New York City for Kid Cudi to be on the stand. So he was yawning at some point.
What would you do if someone accused you of orchestrating a firebombing? Not just any firebombing. This one allegedly targeted Kid Cudi's car, and according to him, it all spiraled out of control because of Cassie. Let's break this down. In court, Kid Cudi made a shocking claim that had everyone's heads turning. He believes Sean Diddy Combs was behind an incident where his car was set on fire. Yes, firebombed. And if this wasn't wild enough, he alleged the motive was rooted in a tangled web of jealousy and personal relationships. Now, accusing someone of planning a firebombing is no small thing. It's dangerous. It's explosive, literally. We're talking about accusing one of the most powerful figures in music and business of orchestrating what sounds like something straight out of an action movie, but here's what makes it even messier. This isn't just a random claim. It ties back to an alleged personal rivalry, and at the center of it all is Cassie. She's the thread connecting these two colossal stars in a...
Diddy's courtroom statement sent shockwaves across the entertainment industry, making headlines. While many believed the case would quietly unfold in legal circles, it instead sparked a whirlwind that swept through the celebrity elite, leaving many details coming out of the court shattered any hopes for discretion, bringing names and associations into the open that put the most untouchable figures on edge. The trial itself, already tense with anticipation, became the focus of intense scrutiny after a bombshell testimony revealed connections and accusations that no one saw coming, according to inner city press. Inside the courtroom, many ideas were permanently buried. The atmosphere was heavy with tension, almost oppressive in its weight. Witnesses squirmed uneasily beneath the attorney's unrelenting scrutiny, while Diddy himself sat at the defense table as customary. He would occasionally look towards the gallery, his countenance unreadable, but his posture revealed that he was stiffly held in place as if preparing for impact. Each shocking revelation broke the facade of his cool demeanor, which was breaking under the intensity of the moment. As the gallery appeared to realize this collectively, attendees, including media representatives and unwitting industry insiders, exchanged quiet glances, their uneasiness building with each new discovery. Whispers echoed through the rows. Wasn't just about Diddy anymore. The most disturbing information revolved around rumors of a much wider network at work, one that might have implicated other significant figures in the music business. This wasn't simply about mistakes or legal issues limited to one man's testimony. According to inner city press, some ambiguous and others frighteningly explicit statements pointed to a network of relationships and transactions that went well beyond Diddy's close group. One witness in particular stood out for casually dropping a high-profile name in passing, briefly stopping the courtroom as the ripple effect set in. For those present, the focus shifted from what had happened weeks or months prior to what these revelations might mean going forward. Few dared to breathe as rumors started to circulate among the names whispered in the background. Although there, was no concrete evidence linking Jay-Z to the case at this time, his presence was noticeable and raised concerns about the extent of his involvement or knowledge of specific transactions. The public's attention was drawn to the cascading disintegration of partnerships and relationships. Diddy's trial had made it painfully evident that no one working in these circles was completely untouchable. If one thread could come undone, there was no way of knowing how far it could go. For the time being, rumors centered on Jay-Z's tenuous but solid ties, sufficient to cause anxiety, but this was just the start, since witness lists, media coverage, and public indignation were already intensifying the sense of that there would be more revelations soon loomed over Hollywood and the music business. Like a menacing storm cloud, and with so many questions still unanswered, it is impossible to ignore them. What about these shocking revelations worries Jay-Z so much? Guilt by association, or something much more damning? At first look, it might seem that the two music
Isn't any security footage. There isn't any proof that Combs either told somebody to do it or actually did it himself. So Kid Cudi says that the very next day after this car incident, he actually meets Diddy at Soho House. So he's like, enough is enough. I'm gonna call Combs. So he calls Combs. He's like, we need to meet up. So they decide to meet at Soho House, which is this very famous private members-only club that has locations all around the world. Kid Cudi arrives to Soho House, and Diddy's head of security, D-Rock, takes him to this conference room. And he actually described to the jury that when he walked in, Combs was looking out the window with his arms behind his back, and he said he looked like a Marvel supervillain. And at that point, the entire courtroom started to laugh. And so he's describing how they're both talking about how Diddy didn't know that Kid Cudi was dating Cassie, and Kid Cudi didn't know that Cassie was also dating Diddy. He said after this meeting was over, he stood up and he shook Diddy's hand, and that everything was calm. There was no screaming, there were no threats, but he said to Diddy, so what are we gonna do about my car? And that's when Diddy said, what are you talking about? So again, that's something that Diddy's attorney, Brian Steele, really tried to poke holes in. Like, Combs never said that he did this to your car. What proof do you have that he is the one behind this?
How did Cassie, a singer often remembered for smooth vocals and a laid-back hit single, end up at the center of one of the most explosive moments in celebrity courtroom history? Known just as much for her long public relationship with Diddy as she is for her music, Cassie is now a pivotal piece of this unfolding chaos. Her connection to both Diddy and Kid Cudi adds layers of complication, drama, and, if accusations are accurate, potential motive. Cassie dated Diddy for over a decade, solidifying herself as a near-constant presence by his side during some of the highest and lowest points of his career. To the public, they often seemed like the quintessential power couple, but insiders have hinted at turmoil beneath the surface. Their relationship was reportedly stormy, filled with rumors of infidelity, control, and manipulative tendencies. After years together, Cassie left the relationship in 2018, eventually marrying Alex Fine, seemingly stepping out of Diddy's shadow for good. But this recent court drama has yanked her right back into it. The alleged connection between Cassie and Kid Cudi has never been fully confirmed, at least not publicly. Their names have been attached in whispers over the years, but nothing concrete ever surfaced until now. Rumors hinted that Cassie and Kid Cudi might have had a personal bond during a time when her relationship with Diddy was on rocky ground. Was their connection romantic, platonic, professional? No one can say for sure.
Moguls are only related by their rare collaborations or shared industry influence. But as the trial's specifics emerged, observers soon realized Jay-Z and Diddy have maintained overlapping social and professional circles throughout the years, sharing contacts with influential players in music, nightlife, and even the corporate world. Their interwoven success stories may go beyond business as usual, long presented a picture of respect for one another. But now a shadow has been cast over those relationships. At the heart of this suspicion are trial references that appear to allude to dubious activities involving prominent inner-city figures. Although Jay-Z has not been directly accused, legal analysts have pointed out how the two moguls' ostensibly benign overlap points to collaborations and occasions where Diddy wasn't the only one with substantial power, according to press reports, is currently under investigation. One specific incident sparked conversations about opulent industry parties and events that, according to witnesses, entail strictly regulated guest lists and a degree of secrecy that seems far from innocent in retrospect. Although Jay-Z's participation at some of these events is well recorded, the fact that they were mentioned in a courtroom has stoked public interest. Behind the scenes, insiders indicate that Jay-Z's team is closely monitoring the trial's progress. Although he hasn't spoken out publicly, rumors suggest that his camp is becoming increasingly uneasy. The question isn't whether Jay-Z may be personally involved, it's whether these relationships, which are already being examined closely, could start to cast him in a negative light, even if they initially seemed, for anyone with empires as big as Jay-Z's, they seem to bear the risk of not only legal exposure but also reputational harm, which may result in doors quietly closing within crucial networks, which is particularly concerning because of the wider implications of the accusations made in court. Legal experts have noted that although a trial focuses on particular charges, the testimony may unintentionally reveal a system or culture that links. The nature of notoriety intensifies the suspicion that might be aroused by several people sharing a past with someone at the center of a trial like Jay-Z. Even tangential linkages can cause a media frenzy, compelling those connected to answer to allegations that may not even be true yet. But one trial revelation has sparked even more rumors about Jay-Z's involvement. A witness brought up a specific business deal that was arranged at the height of both men's careers. No specific misconduct was suggested, but the timing and circumstances made it noteworthy, enough to make some people wonder if it was a coincidence or if it was a part of a bigger story that is just now becoming clear. This one mention, which was purposeful but ambiguous, has left many wondering if there is more to the story. But now, as the testimony goes on, the question remains: are these linkages only a sad coincidence? Or are they strands in a far larger, wider tale that hasn't been fully revealed yet? But one thing is certain: Jay-Z's past may startle people who examine it too deeply. His purchase of Tidal, a streaming service that was marketed as an artist-first service but early accusations. With witnesses in Diddy's trial detailing financial blunders connected to controlling interests and ventures, the controversy surrounding the Tidal, which was initially dismissed as growing pains, is now being examined as an illustration of possibly more serious problems.
The door closed, and he said, he was looking around, he didn't see Diddy, he calls Diddy and he's like, "Where are you?" And Combs is like, "I'm on my way to your house." But Combs never shows up. The police show up and Kid Cudi files a police report. So after all of this, he ends up having some text exchanges with Combs. Combs says, "I want to talk to you." And Kid Cudi actually went to Cassie's home for the holidays in Connecticut for Christmas, and he said he didn't want to talk to Diddy. He was really upset that he had gone into his house, that his dog was all shook up by the incident and acting jittery, and that he just really had a bad taste in his mouth about everything.
Diddy has built his career on thriving under pressure, but in court, faced with Kid Cudi's firebombing accusation, even he seemed to lose his grip. The moment the claim was revealed, the room fell into a heavy silence before turning electric with tension. According to those in attendance, Diddy's expression shifted instantly, his usual composed demeanor cracking as the weight of the allegations settled in. Onlookers described him as visibly shaken, eyebrows furrowed, a man grappling with disbelief and anger colliding all at once. At first, there was a pause, as if Diddy couldn't quite believe what he had just heard. Then came the spark of irritation that was impossible to miss. Witnesses claimed he appeared to whisper something to his legal team before sitting back in his chair, arms crossed tightly. His body language spoke louder than anything he could have said in that moment, defensive, agitated, and ready to fight back. For someone who spent decades navigating the shark-infested waters of the music industry, this was a rare moment of raw emotion on full display. But things escalated when questions began circling about the alleged motive, the supposed connection to Cassie.
Relating to Jay-Z's business life. I wonder if these trends are reflected in the way Jay-Z once handled the attention, which isn't only about possible legal issues, but also about changing. What once drew praise is now under investigation due to the way his choices fit into public narratives of power and influence, giving the impression that his acts are being reframed as part of a much wider and more concerning context. From the streets of Brooklyn to a worldwide corporate behemoth has been nothing short of legendary. His empire includes music, sports management, luxury spirits brands, streaming platforms, and more. Jay-Z has established himself as a cultural and financial giant because to companies like LVMH and his Roc Nation agency, which oversee everything from talent management to big sports partnerships. However, Diddy's trial. The disclosures about Diddy have caused discrete changes in Jay-Z's corporate professional networks, and some of these very relationships are starting to feel the quake of public and professional fallout. Although no specific charges have connected him to Diddy's scandals, the trial has raised concerns among CEOs who previously depended on his impeccable reputation to spur partnerships. Unintentionally brought Jay-Z into discussions that corporate branding frequently tries to steer clear of media sites have revealed rumors circulating within Roc Nation as officials weigh the reputational consequences of these developing analogies. According to sources, control talks are apparently intensifying behind the scenes, but even rumors of affiliation may be costly for an empire this size. Some alliances have already been caught off guard by public scrutiny, have brought attention to a high-end spirits agreement including Jay-Z's Armand Debron Champagne, popularly known as Ace of Spades. Although the collaboration is still in place, there are reports of reluctance from distributors and investors who are wary of any potential in the entertainment industry. Long-term backlash deals frequently depend on public opinion, so even little reputational flaws can have a cascading effect that causes deals to delay, rebrand, or discreetly fall through. Balancing act, particularly for someone like Jay-Z, whose personality is so strongly linked to his commercial endeavors. Legal professionals have described how risky such circumstances may be for celebrities whose companies mostly depend on their personal reputation as public mistrust increases. It's relationships that discreetly disappear without a word that might hurt them the most, according to one analyst. And this is where Jay-Z's problems might be most noticeable. Even while his riches acts as a shield, his empire's success depends mostly on brand relationships formed over many years. Even the biggest structures can be undermined by subtle changes in trust, and the consequences are more severe given how vast. In addition to being a musician and businessman, Jay-Z has expanded his network to include Roc Nation, a stake in the streaming behemoth, and connections to social and political causes that have become a part of his public image. If even one of this empire's pillars experiences severe stress, it could have repercussions for everyone. But the question still stands. With lawyers, public relations firms, and high-level executives probably working overtime, how does someone as powerful as Jay-Z manage this mounting uncertainty? His priorities have moved from expansion to protection, and for the time being, it's unclear how far the harm could extend. Interview 22, 49, 24, 21. Despite the fact that there have been no formal accusations against Jay-Z, the ties revealed during testimony have put him in a vulnerable position where the implications could go beyond mere headlines.
We're talking about the possibility of real, life-altering consequences. Here's where things get tricky. Legally, Cudi's claim alone won't lead to criminal charges. Simply pointing a finger isn't enough. There would have to be actual, concrete evidence tying Diddy to the alleged firebombing. Witnesses, emails, phone records, financial transactions, these are the kinds of things that could turn this from a jaw-dropping courtroom story into a criminal case. So far, no such evidence has been made public. Does Kid Cudi have more to back this up, or is this accusation a bombshell with no fuse? That's the critical piece the legal system would need to move forward. Celebrity legal battles are no stranger to high drama, but few carry allegations this extreme. Compare this situation to other messy celebrity cases. Many fall into civil disputes like defamation or financial wrongdoings, not violent accusations like orchestrating a car bombing. One example would be the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, which captivated the world but stayed firmly in the realm of reputation-damaging claims. What Kid Cudi is alleging here veers into entirely different territory. If taken seriously, it could open up an investigation, and for Diddy, that's about more than just public image. It's about personal freedom. So, what would Diddy's next move be? Judging by his courtroom reaction, he's ready to push back, and his legal team will likely do everything they can to flip the narrative. One option on their table might be filing a defamation claim against Kid Cudi. From a legal standpoint, if Cudi can't produce solid evidence, Diddy's team could argue this accusation is not just false, but also intentionally damaging. It would shift the focus onto whether Cudi acted with malice, turning the tables in an attempt to protect Diddy's legacy. But that's a risky move, especially if any shred of evidence.
A complex network of inquiries concerning his affiliations, previous transactions, and the circumstances surrounding his ascent to power, legal professionals watching the This implies that even though his involvement might not explicitly call for legal action, the indirect consequences could put Jay-Z under a challenging and relentless spotlight behind closed doors. According to insiders, Jay-Z's legal team is on high alert and has started discreetly conferring on the ramifications of being close to people who are being investigated, with an emphasis on protecting Jay-Z's assets and running the court. Considering public opinion, the approach seems to be more about preparation than response. But it's a delicate balancing act, because too much preparation may be interpreted as a show of guilt, while neglecting the increasing scrutiny could result in reputational damage that is already hard to fix. Regarding the trial, neither Jay-Z nor his attorneys have commented publicly. Keeping quiet, which legal experts say is probably a premeditated decision to avoid mistakes, hasn't stopped rumors from spreading. Both industry insiders and legal watchers are considering the possible repercussions of Jay-Z's actions. One recurrent theory is that if investigations into a larger network start, people with tangential relationships may become entangled not necessarily because they are criminal, but rather because they could face consequences if any of these legal threads relate back to him. It's about the optics because of the links that make people more familiar with the scenario. According to one legal analyst, even rumors of dubious affiliations can damage a person's reputation, particularly when public narratives take over. And it involves someone like Jay-Z, whose vast business depends heavily on trust and brand value. Those optics carry a lot of weight in light of everything. However, one reported action that Jay-Z has taken stands out. According to people close to him, he has started to streamline his business operations and has tightened internal oversight in place to ensure that he is not exposed to risks associated with outside figures. Minor indications of a proactive effort to shield his empire from the fallout from further disclosures. And there are rumors of a greater emphasis on charitable endeavors, maybe as part of a larger plan to strengthen his Jay-Z's attempts to project an image as a cultural leader and disassociate himself from the controversy roiling through the industry may not be sufficient to protect him from the larger forces at work. Even his aura of invincibility is being put to the test in a setting where allegiances and as more names are brought to light by the trial, history are being re-examined, which makes Jay-Z's team wonder how much smoke the answer is still unknown. But this ambiguity itself may lead to the entrepreneur who has established an image of invincible success being caught in the aftermath of an industry-wide crisis. Can someone encircle him before someone starts chasing the fire? Jay-Z's name being linked to the aftermath of Diddy's conviction serves as a warning of the storm that lies ahead, highlighting how easily even the strongest reputations can be destroyed when history comes back to haunt them. Even if the trial hasn't yet charged him.
Let's start with what we know. Diddy has long been seen as someone fiercely protective of his public persona and personal life. His relationship with Cassie was an extension of that, glamorous but also laden with rumors of possessiveness. For years, Cassie was not just his girlfriend, but a symbol of his success. If Kid Cudi's alleged connection to her disrupted what Diddy saw as his dominion, it's not hard to imagine how that would ignite tension. Was this really about jealousy, or was it about preserving control over something Diddy felt was slipping out of his hands? Then there's Kid Cudi. Compared to Diddy's towering status in the music industry, Cudi represented something different, an artist outside the traditional industry powerhouses, celebrated for his individuality and emotional depth. Did this contrast bother Diddy? There's no public record of overt bad blood between them before this accusation, but whispers of underground rivalries in the music industry are nothing new. Could there have been friction we never saw? Perhaps a personal grudge or misunderstanding that grew into something far worse, but here's where it gets murkier. Could business interests have played a role? Cassie was, for years, seen as Diddy's protege, a career he supposedly helped shape. If Cassie had sought independence during her rumored connection with Cudi, it might have sent a message Diddy didn't want to hear. Was the firebombing claim symbolic? A way to send a warning about the consequences of stepping outside his influence? All of this speculation leads back to the same conclusion. This isn't just about
Charged him directly. The wider ramifications of these connections, whether circumstantial or substantive, raise disturbing questions about the culture that underpinned the empires. This story is unquestionably far from done, and as more names come to light, the stakes increase higher. Subscribe and stay tuned. There's still more to discover, and you won't want to miss what occurs.